Melbourne, Australia, the cultural capital. Introduction. Melbourne is a big city in Australia. It's in the state of Victoria. People call it the cultural capital of Australia. This is because it has lots of art, music, and events. Melbourne started in 1835. It grew quickly during a gold rush. Now it's the second largest city in Australia. About 5 million people live there. The city is on the Yarra River. It's near Port Phillip Bay. This gives Melbourne a nice mix of city and beach life. Melbourne has a changing climate. People say you can see 4 seasons in one day here. It can be sunny, then rainy, then windy. This keeps things interesting. The city is known for its laneways. These are small streets with lots of shops and cafes. Melbourne is also famous for its trams. These are like buses on tracks. They're a fun way to see the city. People in Melbourne love sports. The city hosts many big sporting events. These include the Australian Open tennis and the Melbourne Cup horse race. Melbourne often ranks as one of the world's most livable cities. This means it's a great place to live. It has good schools, parks, and services. The city is very diverse. People from many countries live here. This makes Melbourne a multicultural place. You can hear many languages on the streets. Culture. Melbourne's culture is rich and varied. Here are some key points about Melbourne's culture. Art. Melbourne loves art. There are many art galleries. The National Gallery of Victoria is the biggest. Street art is also popular. You can see colorful murals on many walls. Music. Music is a big part of life here. There are lots of live music venues. Many famous Australian bands started in Melbourne. The city hosts many music festivals too. Theatre. Melbourne has a strong theatre scene. There are big theatres for musicals. There are also small theatres for experimental plays. The Melbourne International Comedy Festival is very popular. Coffee. Coffee is more than a drink in Melbourne. It's a way of life. The city is famous for its cafe culture. People take their coffee very seriously here. Sports. Sports are huge in Melbourne. Australian rules football was invented here. Cricket is also very popular. The Melbourne Cricket Ground is a famous sports venue. Fashion. Melbourne is known for fashion. It hosts fashion weeks. Many designers are based here. People in Melbourne often dress in black. Multiculturalism. Many cultures mix in Melbourne. There are areas like Little Italy and Chinatown. You can find food and festivals from around the world. Literature. Melbourne is a UNESCO City of Literature. There are many bookshops and libraries. The city hosts writers' festivals. Film and TV. Many movies and TV shows are made in Melbourne. The city has a thriving film industry. Indigenous culture. Melbourne recognizes its Indigenous history. There are cultural centers and events that celebrate Aboriginal culture. Foods. Melbourne is famous for its food scene. Here are some popular foods and dining experiences. Coffee. Melbourne's coffee is world famous. Try a flat white. It's like a latte but stronger. Brunch. People in Melbourne love brunch. You can find great egg dishes and avocado toast. Multicultural cuisine. You can eat food from around the world here. Try Greek, Italian, Vietnamese, or Ethiopian food. Meat pies. These are a classic Australian food. They're pastries filled with meat and gravy. Fish and chips. This British-inspired dish is popular, especially near the beach. Parma, short for chicken parmigiana. It's a chicken schnitzel with tomato sauce and cheese. Dim sum. These are like big dumplings. They're different from Chinese dim sum. Lamingtons. These are sponge cakes covered in chocolate and coconut. Vegemite. This is a salty spread made from yeast. Australians love it on toast. Pavlova. This is a dessert with meringue, cream, and fruit. Australia and New Zealand both claim they invented it. Barramundi. This is a type of fish. It's often on menus in nice restaurants. Tim Tams. These are chocolate biscuits. They're very popular all over Australia. Melbourne has many food events. The Melbourne Food and Wine Festival is a big one. There are also night markets with food stalls. The city is known for its restaurant scene. There are fancy places and casual cafes. Many restaurants focus on using local ingredients. Tips for visitors. Here are some helpful tips for people visiting Melbourne. Use public transport. Melbourne has good trams, trains, and buses. Buy a Mickey card to use them. Dress for changing weather. Bring layers. The weather can change quickly. Try the coffee. Even if you're not a coffee drinker, try some here. It's really good. Explore the laneways. Don't stick to main streets. The small laneways have lots to discover. See a sports game. Try to watch an AFL game if you're here during the season. Use free trams. Trams in the city center are free. This is great for sightseeing. Visit markets. Melbourne has great markets. Queen Victoria Market is the most famous. Book restaurants. Popular places can be busy. It's good to book ahead. Learn tram etiquette. Let people off before you get on. Move down inside the tram to make space. Try local wines. Victoria has great wine regions. Try some local wines in the city. Respect beach safety. If you go to the beach, swim between the flags. Use sunscreen. The sun can be very strong, even on cool days. Explore beyond the city. There are beautiful places to visit near Melbourne, like the Great Ocean Road. Tipping isn't required. You don't need to tip in restaurants, but it's nice if the service is good. Stay safe at night. Like any big city, be careful in quiet areas at night. Must-visit places. Here are some places you should try to visit in Melbourne. Federation Square. This is in the heart of the city. It's a meeting place with museums and cafes. Royal Botanic Gardens. These gardens are beautiful. They're great for a walk or picnic. National Gallery of Victoria. This is Australia's oldest and largest art museum. Melbourne Cricket Ground. Even if you don't like sports, this famous stadium is worth seeing. Queen Victoria Market. This is a huge market. You can buy fresh food, souvenirs, and more. St. Kilda Beach. This is a popular beach area. It has a fun pier and lots of cafes. Eureka Sky Deck. This is a tall building with great views of the city. Melbourne Museum. Learn about the city's history and nature here. State Library Victoria. This is a beautiful old library. It's free to visit. Brighton Beach Boxes. These are colorful beach huts. They make great photos. Hosier Lane. This laneway is famous for its street art. Melbourne Zoo. See Australian animals and creatures from around the world. Shrine of Remembrance. This is a war memorial with good city views. Chinatown. Explore this area for great food and atmosphere. Flinders Street Station. This old train station is a city icon. Degrave Street. This laneway is full of cafes. It's great for coffee and people watching. Old Melbourne Gaol. This old jail is now a museum. It's a bit spooky. Australian Centre for the Moving Image. This museum is all about film and TV. Crown Casino. Even if you don't gamble, it's an impressive complex. Yarra River. Take a walk along the river. There are nice paths and restaurants. More about Melbourne. Transport. Melbourne's tram network is the largest in the world. It's a great way to see the city. Trains go to outer suburbs. Buses fill in the gaps. Bikes are also popular. There are bike lanes and a bike share system. Education. Melbourne has good universities. The University of Melbourne and Monash University are well known. Many international students come to study here. Shopping. Melbourne is great for shopping. Bourke Street Mall is a main shopping area. There are also big shopping centers. For unique items, try the markets or small shops in laneways. Neighborhoods. Each area of Melbourne has its own feel. Fitzroy is artsy and hip. St. Kilda is beachy and relaxed. Carlton is known for Italian food. South Yarra is fancy. Exploring different areas is fun. Events. Melbourne hosts many events. The Melbourne International Film Festival is popular. The Melbourne Fringe Festival showcases new artists. White Night is when the city stays open all night with light shows. Nature. Even though it's a big city, Melbourne has lots of parks. The Dandenong Ranges are nearby for bushwalking. You can see penguins at St. Kilda Pier. Architecture. Melbourne has a mix of old and new buildings. There are beautiful old Victorian buildings. There are also modern skyscrapers. The mix makes the city interesting to look at. Business. Melbourne is an important business city. Many big companies have offices here. It's also good for small businesses and startups. Nightlife. Melbourne has a fun nightlife. There are bars hidden in laneways. There are rooftop bars with views. Live music venues are common. Each area has a different vibe at night. Day trips. There are many places to visit near Melbourne. The Great Ocean Road is beautiful. You can see the 12 Apostles there. The Yarra Valley is great for wine tasting. Phillip Island has a penguin parade. Conclusion. Melbourne is a special city. It mixes old and new, nature and city life. There's always something happening here. The city is proud of its culture. Art, music, and food are big parts of life. Sports bring people together. The mix of cultures makes Melbourne exciting. Melbourne can be busy and quiet. The city center is lively. But there are calm parks and beaches too. You can find whatever mood you like. Visitors to Melbourne should try new things, taste different foods, see some art, watch a sports game, ride a tram. These experiences help you understand the city. Remember that Melbourne changes with the seasons. Summer is busy and fun. Winter is cooler but cozy. There are events all year round. Melbourne is more than just tourist sites. It's about the feeling of the city. It's the cafes, the laneways, the parks, and the people. Take time to soak it all in. Whether you like food, art, sports, or nature, Melbourne has something for you. It's a city that grows on you. Many visitors end up wanting to stay longer. So come to Melbourne. Sip some coffee in a laneway cafe. Watch the sunset from St. Kilda Beach. Cheer at a football game. Wander through an art gallery. Feel the energy of this cultural capital. Melbourne is waiting to share its stories with you. It's a city you'll want to visit again and again.